Bienvenue dans Tous Danseurs, le premier podcast dédié 100% à la danse. Merci de partager ce moment avec nous. Moi, c'est Dorothée. J'aime saupoudrer ma vie de soleil et je porte en moi la passion de la danse depuis l'enfance. Tous Danseurs, c'est une conversation avec un acteur de la danse d'aujourd'hui et de demain. On y parle de toutes les danses. Un temps suspendu pour découvrir des parcours insolites de femmes et d'hommes qui vivent passionnément danse, des artisans du mouvement. Danseurs et athlètes, costumiers, chorégraphes, metteurs en scène, musiciens, chercheurs, des créateurs et ouvriers de la danse. Dans l'ombre ou la lumière, ils sont tous en mouvement, tous artistes, tous danseurs. Le podcast est disponible sur de nombreuses plateformes, alors abonnez-vous pour ne pas manquer de nouvelles rencontres autour de la danse. Et surtout, n'oubliez pas de laisser un mot doux ou une note 5 étoiles sur iTunes ou Apple Podcast. Ah, j'oubliais, n'hésitez pas à m'écrire sur l'Instagram Tous Danseurs si vous avez des questions. Today, I welcome Matthew Bourne, famous British choreographer, founder of the company New Adventures. He presents Romeo Juliet, which has just taken up residence at the Théâtre du Châtelet. Joining us in conversation are Hannah Kremer and Fisch, company members and soloists from Romeo Juliet. 3 voices that give an inside look into the company and what it means to be an artist today. We listen to them with joy. This conversation was recorded on March 12. This is the first English language episode of Tous Danseurs. Thanks to Beatriz Simonsohn, English translator, for her help. Hello, Matthew.
Hello.
Thank you so much to be there. I'm so happy to have this conversation with you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, in the foyer of the Châtelet.
It's a wonderful, wonderful place, full of dance history. So very exciting for us as a dance company to be here. Yeah.
Do you feel the vibration of the place?
I feel the weight of history.
The weight?
Well, it does feel that a little bit because it is so, it's a significant venue, you know, and you always feel you need to live up to it. That's what I always feel, you know, that it's somewhere very significant for dance history. And so you want to sort of, it's great to be part of that, but you feel the weight of that as well.
The weight of the heritage.
Yeah, the weight of the heritage, yes. Yeah.
Okay, and you are here with Romeo Juliet.
Yes.
The premiere was Saturday.
Yes, the first performance was Saturday. We've done 2 shows so far.
Yeah, and what about the first shows in France in the Théâtre?
Very good, very different. We've just come from Los Angeles, where we did 4 weeks, 5 weeks there. And, you know, it's just getting used to different audiences. Everywhere you go is so different, such a different needs. We were told straight away after the show that we didn't bow enough. And of course, we'd just come from Los Angeles, where as soon as you leave the stage, they don't call you on again. They go and get up and get into their cars. They all want to go to the car park as soon as possible.
It's so not the same in Paris.
Well, we had to sort of turn around and come back really quickly without actually going off. Whereas here, I'm told that they like to show their appreciation and bring you back on again and go off and bring you back on again. And so we've done that now. But we did that for the second show.
So for tonight, you will do that.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting because it's audiences are just very, very different wherever you go. There was a nice concentrated atmosphere here, I felt, throughout the show. Yeah.
So Matthew, can we try with beginning?
Yes.
Dance.
Beginning of what?
Beginning of you, your relationship.
Beginning of time.
Your relationship with dance, you know, because dance is in the heart of your artistic life.
Yes.
But you found dance very lately.
Well, I didn't find dance very late. I started to train very late. And my actual love of dance started really, really young, like at 4 or 5 years old. I loved dancing. I loved watching dancing on film, TV. My parents took me to the cinema quite a lot. They took me to the West End Theatre in London to see shows, not ballets, not classical music or not ballet, not this sort of thing.
Musicals.
Musicals, yeah. I saw a lot of musicals and a lot of film musicals, which I love and still love. So I was kind of a self-taught dancer for a while. I copied what I'd seen on the screen, and I put on little shows, and I tried to do them from memory, you know, recreate them from memory. And I've always done that, you know, so I've always been putting on shows, and I've always been dancing a bit, but sort of singing a bit as well in the early days before the voice broke. and that was a disaster. It didn't quite come back the way it was. But I have sort of always loved it. But I didn't start training until I was 22, which is very, very late for dance, as you know, for a dancer. So I was always going to be a bit more involved in the choreography and the directing, I think, even right from the beginning of the training. Although I didn't really know what was coming, I just sort of wanted to do it. You know, I had a passion for it.
And do you know why it's so important for you, dance?
I think I found a way of communicating through it without words. I think I went through a period when I was a teenager where I didn't like speaking very much, or didn't like using my voice very much. And I was very shy and very sort of, and maybe movement became more, you know, important to me then, or something that I could speak with. And I love the fact that it's universal, you know, that we can go anywhere in the world and we don't have a language problem, and we can, everyone's the same in many ways, you know. Of course, very different culturally, but we've got so much in common as well. So it's something we can share around the world, which is what we're doing at the moment, which is amazing.
It's amazing. And what kind of dance do you want to defend? It's a universal dance. Can you speak about that?
About what's
the type of dance you want to defend?
Oh, well, the sort of dance that I like to do is narrative. So I'm always telling a story. So I think that's the sort of dance that I feel, again, storytelling and is something that's very universal as well. You know, about wanting to be told a good story. And for me, in terms of dance, that means not having a scenario in the program, not having read it before you see it, actually having a few surprises within it, like a good film or a good play, you know, that you don't really know what's going to happen. And that's what we try and do in this company, tell stories with some surprises in. So you experience it as you watch it, you know. So I think that's the thing, again, which is universal, I think. And again, has cultural differences in the way people receive that information, but it works, you know. I hope it does, you know, wherever we go.
And is it necessary to keep the spirit of a child when you do that kind of story?
The spirit of a child?
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds more like a fairy tale. The spirit of a child. I think for me, a sort of childlike pleasure in what you do is important still. Something that's that doesn't leave you. I think I'm still a fan, basically, of everything. You know, so I still love the things I loved when I was growing up. So I think I'm a fan of even watching my own company. I'm a fan of them, you know. So it's sort of, I think I don't lose that real early pleasure that I had in it. You know, I think if you lose that, then you've lost the spirit that you need to make the work, you know.
To keep the pleasure.
Yeah.
Always.
I mean, that also means maybe being nervous on an opening night still. If you stop being nervous, what does that mean? You know, that you've lost interest, or that you don't feel it so much anymore. So I think those things are important as well, you know, that you still feel those things, which I still do to a certain extent, yeah.
And shall we try to put words on your choreography style?
Well, they can talk about that. I don't know.
After I will.
Best if other people talk about that. I think I don't know. It varies quite a lot from show to show. I'm sure other people can see similar things in it, you know, that I like and don't like. I don't really like just show off dancing for no reason. I like it to be about something. Although I quite enjoy watching that sometimes, you know, that's fun. Things like that, I suppose. I think it's the narrative thing is the most significant thing. And it's also based on many different dance styles, I would say. So it's not coming from one particular style of dance. It's ballet, contemporary, social dancing, you know, any form really of traditional dance, you know, lots and lots. Call upon everything.
Let's speak about Romeo Juliet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have once again chosen a great classical ballet with the music of Sergei Prokofiev.
Yes.
And the story of a famous forbidden love as a backdrop. And what rereading of this story did you want to share?
Well, I didn't. Well, for a start, we're in the non-verbal form, of dance theatre. So we're not using the Shakespeare in terms of the words. So Shakespeare's gone in many ways because we don't speak it.
Yeah.
So, but there is the Shakespeare. There's the story. So we take the story.
There is the spirit of Shakespeare.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and also there's the music, as you say, Prokofiev music becomes like the script. It becomes, for me, a little bit more important than the Shakespeare, because it's telling you things. The music is telling you, making you feel things. And so the problem with listening to Prokofiev is you have lots of images in your head of old ballets that you've seen of it. So they're sort of there in there somewhere if you've seen them enough. And that's, I try and get rid of, try and wipe that away, and try and listen to what's in the music. And we've got several bits of music in the show which represent extremely different things to what people might know if they know the ballet well. So it's using that more than the Shakespeare in some ways. And because I felt the Romeo and Juliet was overdone, done too much almost, as a piece in all the different mediums, the films and the play and this ballet, I made me sort of a bit bolder about changing it. I thought we had to change it to be different, to be original, and to wake it up a little bit. So I was very, very much less reverential than I would normally be, maybe, in changing the story and finding new outcomes. I mean, it ends pretty much as people might expect. That's what happens. And it does give you a sense of Romeo and Juliet, the story. It gives you I always say it's like a Romeo and Juliet-like story. It's not exactly the play or the ballet even, but it does give you the same feelings, and it is about young love, and it is about the feeling of that. And I think we've tried to capture it in a way that feels more believable. It's not balletic and twee and classical. It's sort of a bit more like can't keep your hands off each other type of feeling.
It's also about youth.
Yes.
A type of youth.
Yes.
A youth you want to show.
Well, the thing that excited about me at the beginning was to have a younger company and cast some of the lead roles with younger members of the company that I had, and also then look around for new talent in the colleges. And a lot of graduates were in the show, when we first did it, and even now, actually, people have joined straight from college, So it's about representing young people and what's important to them today, and because the show is set in in the present day, maybe a little bit in the future, it means that we can represent lots of different kinds of young people within the show as inmates of this institute in which it's set. We don't want to give too much away, but it is set in an institute where young people are imprisoned or kept, and we're not quite sure why they're there. And I don't offer any explanation other than what the audience want to think, which is it's sort of up to the audience what they think is going on.
And the institution represents the image of young people who are closed off, like in a jail?
Yeah, there's a jail or a prison or a hospital or it could be anything, social experiment. They can't get out, and we do sort of give a sense that they're dumped there by parents they're either an embarrassment to, or they're there to be. I think very early on in rehearsals we thought they'd all been put there to be kind of normalised in some way, to be made all the same, and of course they're not. They're all very different, and they're all they don't want that, of course. Why would you? But that's the idea behind it, really, is that they're
to show the diversity, to show the...
Yes, definitely we can show that in this piece in a way that we like no other, in a way, because it's sort of set in the present day, and people... I think, many of the performers are not trained actors, they're trained dancers, and acting has become an interest for them. But if you can call upon things that you know yourself, that's something that represents who you are, in a way to build your character, it's very helpful, I think, that it's if it's not your first skill. So it's try and find a character that you can relate to, and use your own experiences. It's very useful.
What should this piece not be?
What should it not be?
Yeah.
No, there's no incorrect interpretation. That's what I'm saying, really. I think people can choose to decide what they're seeing. And that's why we don't have the story written in. When the program was produced here a few weeks ago, it did have a scenario in it, but I didn't write it. Somebody did, but I got it taken out because I don't believe that people need it. I think all they need to do is come and watch, and the story tells itself, and you just don't need to know anything before you watch it, really. I don't think it just is. Okay, it
is. And are you happy with the result?
Well, yes. Well, yes? That's why we're doing it. Yeah.
They are crossing the fingers, the dancers.
That's why we're doing it again, Well, it started out as a project that was very much about the talent development and the young performers, and I'd almost forgotten that we were doing a new show in a way, and then the show itself took off and was very successful, and it was almost a surprise, that it worked, and it works as a show, and it moves people. Most importantly, I think if you do Romeo and Juliet and it doesn't move people, then probably shouldn't be doing it.
And what have you learned in this new artistic adventure?
What have I learned?
Yeah.
Well, at this point,
yes,
I've virtually done everything I wanted to do. I find it's quite hard to find new things, So I felt very proud of us for doing this piece because it does touch on subject matter, which is very serious stuff, and very challenging. And I thought, this feels really good at this point in my life to be making a piece that does have that in it. That's not just a fairy tale or a nice story, it's sort of got something to say, we had to think about how we were dealing with these issues, So I think it's a piece I'm very proud of.
You are very proud.
I'm proud.
Yes, wonderful.
Proud parent.
And what is the next dream made of?
My next dream?
Yeah. Oh. Is it a dream?
Retirement?
Retirement. No, not yet, please. Is it a dream made with dance?
Well, we're bringing back our Swan Lake later in the year, which is the 30th anniversary. And I love bringing shows back, If a new one comes along, then it will come along in my head, and something will happen, and I'll go, I've got to do it. But I don't have to do it in a way, because we have so many great shows that we just keep doing every few years, and I enjoy doing them again, and I enjoy putting them on the different dancers and trying to make them better, So I get I know a lot of choreographers don't like looking back and don't like reviving work, but I've always loved it. So there's lots to do, but I don't know about anything new for the company at the moment, but there will be something probably in the future. Who knows?
Who knows? Yes, 3 point. And a life of dance is a life of what?
The life of dance.
A life full of dance is a life.
Oh, a life full of dance is a well. For me, I don't know. I don't feel very full of dance, to be honest.
Full of.
I feel very sat down.
Full of shows.
You can ask them about that.
Yeah. I have the same question for them.
No, but it has given me a lot of pleasure. The thing. My life of dance is about having a company, and I love having a company, and that's a real privilege, and it's something I don't take for granted, and it means I can do the work I want to do. And many people wait for a commission, or they're waiting for someone to ask them to do something. If I want to do it, I can make it happen, and that's been the great joy for me. The whole thing of having a company and developing that company, that's been my life, which I've loved. Yeah, it sounds like an obituary or something, but I still love.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Matthew.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Thank you for this moment with you.
Thank you.
And now I will have a small conversation with Jackson and Hannah. If you want to stay, you can stay with us.
I'll stay.
Yeah, wonderful. So Jackson, Hannah.
Hello.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, so nice to have a moment with you after Matthew. Let's talk about the show, about you.
Please.
First, I have one question. The first question for you. You are both dancers of the Matthew Bourne's New Adventures company. Can you tell us in few words about your dancing background? Can you begin?
Yeah,
Hannah?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the very beginning, at a very young age, my mum put me in ballet lessons, and But more than that, I also loved even more than ballet. I did hula dance from a very young age, and I did that alongside ballet, and I think that made me love the expressive side of dance. And hula dance is very expressive. It's all about storytelling.
Nice to hear that.
And I think I found a way to enjoy that and then eventually enjoy ballet as well.
And where did you learn?
I learned in Tokyo. That's
in Tokyo?
where I kind of grew up at an early age, and I was in the States for a bit and I danced there, and then I eventually joined a school called Tring Park School, which is a boarding school in the UK, and then Rambert School, which actually a lot of the company members have trained there as well. So I've gotten a really diverse background of dance from different countries, and I had many different teachers, and also New Adventures was kind of a school for me too. I mean, New Adventures has been like a second home, like a safe place for me since I was 15 years old. That's when I auditioned for Romeo and Juliet and became a young cast member in the original production in 2019. And I spent a lot of my time in the talent development programs. And
there is the talent development program in the company. Yeah.
So yeah.
Nice. And what about you, Jackson?
Hello. I started dancing when I was quite young. All of my siblings, we went to ballet and jazz lessons. The first two eldest were full price, and then the third one was half price, and the fourth was free. So my parents sent us all along. So I started dancing when I was 4 years old. Professionally started training at the Australian Ballet School when I was 10. I graduated just after I turned 18, and in my final year at school there was an audition for the New Adventures production of Lord of the Flies, which they performed at the Arts Centre in Melbourne. I auditioned for that, and very luckily from that experience was offered a position with the company in London with the Red Shoes, and
Red
from
Shoes.
there, beautiful show. From there, I've been working with the company since 2017.
And why did you join the company?
Whoa, there's so many reasons.
Why this call for the company?
This company is so special. I think I trained in classical ballet and have always loved storytelling and particularly the music of classical ballet. And I think when I started to become aware of New Adventures productions, I could see the music in a new light. Like Matthew was saying, he takes what we know and love and finds either a new meaning for the music, for the story, or a deeper meaning in the music. He finds what we think is really trying to be said with these productions and these scores. And I think telling the stories in a new way and in a very relevant way is what drew me to New Adventures more than anything.
And what about you, Hannah?
I think, simply put, I never have more fun anywhere else. I think just this company, it's just such a good environment. It's the people as well as the work that we do. And I've just always naturally found it to be so fun and joyful, and I think this kind of style of movement that we do and how versatile you have to be and how you have to kind of adapt to even the different sections in this piece, or for example, I did Sleeping Beauty, which was very different, and I think I enjoy the challenge of expressing different characters on stage, and I just love it.
And it's what you found, and you didn't find that things in other places.
We find them in different ways. I think classical ballet and in a lot of contemporary work, they find their story and their storytelling in very unique ways, just as we find ours in a very unique way. But I think with any art, you are attracted to it and drawn to it in ways maybe you can't explain. So some people may love the classical ballet, and I certainly love the classical ballets, and I love the way they're told and performed. But personally, in my own work and my own experiences, there's something about the authenticity of a New Adventures production where you can really be a human on stage, and you have a name, you have a story, you have a
background.
history, a background. So every character in this show comes from somewhere. You might not know their name whilst you're watching the performance, but you can see through their performance that they have a story, they have a history. We know on stage why we're in this institute. And I think despite it not being written down and told to the audience in that way, the effect it has and the impact it has is very clear. And I think that's really beautiful.
And how old are you, Jackson?
How old am I?
Yeah.
26.
And you, Anna?
I'm 21.
21 and 26. Can you tell about your role on the piece, on Romeo plus Juliet? You have several roles.
Several.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. 3 for each of you. No? 3 or 4?
3 for me.
3 for
I have 4.
Yeah, you have 4. Yeah.
Including my cousin.
Incredible. So, you can begin? Yeah.
Yeah, I play 3 ensemble characters, including my covers: Faith, Lavinia, Morgan, and I also play the role of Juliet as well.
Okay.
Should I go into detail?
Yeah, maybe can you tell about the main role? How did you approach your role and?
Well, Juliet is I was cover Juliet for the UK tour, and recently at the start of this international tour, I've gotten the opportunity to perform it, and yeah, so that's quite new for me, and I'm really enjoying that. But in the UK tour, I really enjoyed also performing my ensemble roles. I think the character that I kind of almost spearheaded in creating was my role Faith. I think because Lavinia was someone in our company created that role, so I really had pleasure in learning from her. But Faith was actually a young cast character, so this time around we really got the opportunity to shape her into who we wanted her to
build the character.
Yeah, exactly. In rehearsals with the other 2 people who at the time were creating the role with me. Yeah, it's really fun. You kind of get even more freedom as an ensemble member because everyone feeds into the story, but I think you also get the freedom of exploring a little bit or maybe changing things slightly, so you get to really have fun and interact with other characters.
Like a freestyle?
Not freestyle.
Within reason.
Within boundaries. Yeah.
And what about
which is great, which is what I also love.
And what about the indication of Matthew and the choreographic team on this world, for example?
Yeah,
what kind of exchanges did you have to build the character?
Yeah, in rehearsals we got space and time to create our characters with other people who play the roles, and I think we generally were given space to kind of decide who we want this character to be, and we got feedback as well. There are certain sections in the show where we have moments where we can create solos, like for example therapy solos, or we have a section called trauma, where we also had a voice in what we want the choreography to be and in the creation process. So I think that's the main place where we got to really have fun.
And you, Jackson?
I play 3 characters in this production. I play Lennox, Balthazar, which I originated in the 2019 production, and Romeo also. Romeo, yeah. Romeo.
Yeah, and you want to speak about one in particular?
Yes. I mean, in particular, obviously, Romeo is quite special, of Romeo and Juliet.
Obviously.
He has such an interesting and unique journey through this show. Because he's introduced later on in the piece, and he comes as an outsider into this institute, which I think brings initially a lot of joy and a lot of, he's quite an awkward and gangly little character, which is quite fun to play. But then obviously it becomes quite... he's thrust into a very romantic situation and he doesn't quite know what to do with it, which I think is very sweet. And then obviously there's a lot of trauma and a lot of pain that goes on as well. So his journey through the show is so varied, which I think it's just incredibly special. I was so excited to revisit this role. I originally, like Hannah, covered the role on the UK tour, and then now that we're international, we have the opportunity to perform it more regularly. And it's just, from the beginning to end, you're dancing in different styles. You're experiencing an absolute roller coaster of emotions, and it's such a fantastic role. And I think it makes it such a joy to perform. And I think that's what the audience really sees through all of the hardship of it and the joy within the role itself and the performance. Every moment is, as a performer, incredibly special. And I think that really carries to the audience.
And what are the biggest challenges every night when you are on the stage?
How much time do we have? No,
the main.
I think there's certainly sections of the show that are physically quite difficult.
Yeah,
the balcony duet.
Wonderful.
I think we talk about the balcony quite a lot.
Yeah.
But in a sense, it is physically the most difficult part of the show.
Yeah.
However, we all talk about it in the sense that it is our favorite part of the show, because you enter the stage and all of a sudden it's just Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
For maybe the second time in the show, but for the first time it really settles.
Yeah.
That it's just the two of us on stage, and we have a moment where we can just look at each other before we begin dancing and just know we're together. We can say, hello, it's just us for the next 8 minutes, and we can just fall in love and feel a very childlike joy, which is almost what you focus on more than the duet itself. Then once the duet is over and you're off stage, you realize how hard it's been.
Yeah.
But in the moment, it's this euphoric, fantastic 8 minutes of pure joy.
Yeah, I would have to agree completely, I think. Yeah, it is a challenge, but it's so incredibly rewarding all at the same time. It's what makes it rewarding in a sense. But other challenges, I mean, I think Romeo and Juliet both have to elicit very intense, deep emotions. It's always a challenge in live theater, like to bring that out every night. And also, but because I'm new to it, it feels very fresh. And it's about staying consistent, but also finding new things and learning from the other Juliets who also perform the role as well. But yeah, I mean, this is a dream role for me. I mean, as a young cast, I really looked up to, Dee Dee, who also originated the role of Juliet. So yeah, it's been such a pleasure.
And this performance is also about youth. We spoke with Matthew. And for you, what does it reveal about youth?
About youth?
Yeah.
I think the power and the strength we can have when faced with adversity and with oppression. I think that's what this story tells, is that we will be who we want to be. We will be who we were born to be, regardless of what we're told, how we should behave in the world. We obviously behave politely. We are, we're lovely people, but there are a lot of things that are oppressed in the world at the moment in particular. And I think what this story tells about youth is that we will fight for it, and it is a worthy fight, and it's our life. It's these characters' lives, and they're just fighting to be themselves.
Wonderful. You want to add something, Matthew, when you listen to them?
I did have a thought then. What was the question?
I was saying that the show is about youth and
yes. Yeah,
you
I think I said it
that
earlier.
better.
Yes, we did speak about it, and I think Jackson's right. It is ultimately it's about. It's triumphant. People say, why does it, even though it has the ending that people might expect, it feels very cathartic in a way, partly because they have fought for their love, you know, and the other characters have fought for to be who they are, even in an oppressed situation that they're in. There's something quite uplifting about that. And somebody said to me the other day, why is the ending bittersweet? You know, why is it bittersweet? And it's actually because it's terrible, our ending of our show. It really is graphically horrible what happens to these two young people. And it's Prokofiev's fault, actually, because the music is at the point where it's at its worst. He gives you the most beautiful melody that breaks your heart, and it makes you feel of what could have been or something. I don't know, but it moves you so much. And it helps them, I'm sure, when you're performing it, to have that music, because it's so gut-wrenchingly beautiful and sad. And I think we mustn't forget that Prokofiev has a big part to play in how we all feel when we watch it as well. You know, I think that's what's interesting about the end of what's so clever about what he wrote there. Otherwise, it'd be such a downer. The ending would be so awful. But something about it makes you feel there's a cathartic feeling about it. Yeah.
Wonderful. We make the conclusion? Yeah?
I think that was good.
Yeah, for you? For you, what makes a good dancer? Finally. Oh. Up.
It's such a beautiful question.
Yeah. You have a life for that.
What makes a good dancer? I think someone who's very human, which sounds very esoteric, but particularly in the world of communicating through art, I think the human experience and the ability to express on stage concisely but very honestly, most of the time it's not about the dancing in particular, it's about the feeling and how you tell a story and how you express and affect an audience with your performance. I think that's what makes a good dancer.
Yeah, I was going to say that things like technique are not a means to an end. Like, I think a good dancer is someone who can use the skills that we've learned in training or technique and go beyond those bounds and make it transcend into being human again, which is it's like a
to see
like
the
you
soul.
start
Full
human, you
circle.
learn the tech, but then you're back to where you were before. I think that's ultimately what makes a good dancer, especially in this company as well. And you have to love it as well, I think.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Jackson.
Thank
you,
you.
Matthew, for this moment.
Thank you.
And see you in the Châtelet. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Ciao.
you.
Voilà, clap de fin. À très vite pour refaire danser les mots ensemble le temps d'une conversation. Merci d'avoir passé ce moment avec nous. Et n'oubliez pas, nous sommes tous danseurs. Le podcast est disponible sur de nombreuses plateformes, alors abonnez-vous pour ne pas manquer de nouvelles rencontres autour de la danse. Et surtout, n'oubliez pas de laisser un mot doux ou une note 5 étoiles sur iTunes ou Apple Podcasts. Ah, j'oubliais, n'hésitez pas à m'écrire sur l'Instagram Tous Danseurs si vous avez des questions.